strategy are more likely to reap the rewards of enhanced competitive positions in the future, benefiting not only their shareholders and all their stakeholders involved, but society at large. With the right culture, you could achieve powerful results for your business. A period of adjustment to the new normal requires a change in mindset to the new normal. An adjustment period to the new normal could be difficulty for some of us. Change is not always embraced. It is always a fear of unknown, but knowing how to work the technology. A well-managed transition to the new normal could result in stronger businesses with happier employees, increased productivity and improved business results. And I think, this transition is about how charities can make it easier for businesses to engage with them in ways that you build a relationship, a corporate relationship. One example is the Hospice of St. Francis, who have built a corporate partnership with over 200 companies, all delivering a membership fee each month to be a member of that corporate partnership. And those companies facilitate a very powerful business networking community. Far more, now, just to put my other roles, I am president for the Thames Valley Chamber of Commerce for Buckinghamshire, and my networking groups are nowhere near as successful as the Hospice of St. Francis. I get maybe 20 or 30 people, they get about 120. So, I think, and they've built that relationship over months and months and years, and it's working really well for them. So how will the great realization affect your business? From, again, language we can use to talk to businesses. It's demonstrating commitment to society will reassure your customers you are the right business to work with. Demonstrating your commitment to society will make you more attractive to potential employees, a greater ability to attract talent and become an employer of choice. Demonstrating your commitment to society and your staff will help with staff engagement and retaining staff, a happy and productive workforce. And demonstrating your commitment to society will attract new customers to you. Demonstrating your commitment to society will make it easier to access capital. Investors care about social responsibility in social companies. So social responsibility will become a key driver for the long-term sustainable success of businesses going forward. Like Mark Carney said last year about sustainable business in terms of environmental endeavours, if business do not deliver sustainability, they will not survive in business, especially as we come out of COVID. In order to maximise this potential, it is essential that firms smartly communicate their CSR efforts to ensure that consumers view them as driven by intrinsic, genuine, rather than extrinsic profit-led motivations. And this is where we come back to challenging the C, and how the C in the Clare Foundation has opened up an opportunity for businesses and charities to work together and support each other. And the conversations I've had, the Zoom meetings I've had in the last 7 or 8 weeks, especially in the last 2 weeks, have shown how community and charity is at the heart of everything that people want to be involved with as we go forward. They want to build that as a central strand or a central pillar in their business strategy. So I wanted the challenge to see. Increasingly, the term corporate has been challenged, and this is because it excludes a large number of stakeholders, specifically the third sector and public sectors, and because corporate does not encompass sole traders or smaller SMEs. For this reason, we have defined the C in CSR to be more inclusive. We now recommend that the C has a wider focus of audience-specific meanings. So for large companies, yeah, CSR, corporate social responsibility, but also company social responsibility. For sole traders and SMEs, we want to look at companies rather than corporates. For local authorities, schools and hospitals, we want to talk about community social responsibility for the public sector. And for the third sector, obviously, we want to talk about charitable social responsibility. But for consumers, we want to talk about product and services, consumer social responsibility, and training and workshops to develop citizen social responsibility. But more importantly, we want collective social responsibility, all of us working together for one common game, to show what good looks like and to deliver value and purpose. The sea change for the new normal will simply be to care and to be kind. It is important, not more important now than ever, to show that we are doing everything we can to improve the world we live in for future generations, not only by reducing the negative impact on the environment, but by building a better and cohesive society. Social responsibility is not a cost, it is an investment. In our experience, many organisations are already doing lots of great things. They often do not realise that they all contribute to the success, both financially and reputationally, to their business. Getting the small things right can easily inspire pride and a strong culture within an organisation. When an employee is asked by a family member or friend, how is the job going? They don't often respond, yes, it's great. We had brilliant pre-tax profits of X million this year. They often respond with, my boss is great. He really looks after us, or she really looks after us. The company lets us work from home sometimes. Also, we are proud to work for our company because they have a volunteer day, because they have financial giving or pro-no giving and support a local charity. So, we've highlighted the benefits to an organisation of a more socially responsible approach and the areas to consider. And this can be done through your own reviews or structured CSR programs. And we run the accreditation program that actually sets a structure out against the 4 pillars that helps both charities and organisations recognise the value of social responsibility. CSR accreditation has accredited a number of charities, sole traders, small businesses, national businesses, and we're growing all the time. And I just would like to make that point that for organisations working in the third sector, you can have conversations with businesses to say, look, we can help you become a better business. We can help you engage your staff in a way that you're not doing. We can help you become an employer of choice. We can help you attract investment, and we can help you win tenders. Social responsibility is a driver now that so many different areas of business is being affected by, and certainly by the new generation coming into the workplace who are looking for greater value and purpose. And it's also for the third sector to embrace as well, because I think charities also need to be socially responsible. They need to look after their staff, they need to skills train, they need to look after the environment, and they need to show that they are delivering good above and beyond their core purpose. So hopefully, I just wanted to, really pick up on the fact that, it's that also social responsibility, that emotional investment. One thing is that it makes us feel good. There's no negatives. And the biggest output from delivering really powerful social responsibility is storytelling. But to deliver good storytelling, you have to deliver story doing. And if a business supports a charity, we think it is so important that that charity delivers an impact report as to how that activity has helped them, whether it's through volunteering time or financial giving. Now that impact reporting becomes absolute dynamite or gold dust when it comes to storytelling and social media channels. If a business then can say, look, we're so proud to support X and X, and as a result, they were able to employ extra staff or help deliver whatever it might be, the charity can then share that story on social media, and the business gets to exposed to a different audience, and the charity also gets exposed to the business audience. Plus, it delivers free marketing. There's a new attitude that social responsibility is the new marketing for businesses. So showing what good looks like is the way that businesses will stay in business. So I think charities and businesses can work together. And I just hope that I've been able to give you, I can go on about this forever because it's something I'm passionate about, but I just wanted to try and say, as we come into what we are thinking is the new normal, there's a bigger opportunity to engage with businesses in a way that hasn't been done before, and for charities to provide more value than just being supported by a business to help the charity do what it's going to do or what it needs to do, but by helping businesses also succeed and be sustainable in the future. I'm just going to return that back to stop sharing.
Thank you very much, Richard. I have a quick question for you, and then we'll open it up to the floor. If you are a charity or a non-profit and you haven't actually worked you haven't worked maybe proactively with corporates before, how do you even begin? What's, from real practical operational perspective, how should you approach them?
Well, one of the things that I think it's about not necessarily doing what charities sometimes do, and that's kind of writing the letter or engagement that says, look, we're a charity, we're local, we would like support. Can we engage with you in a certain way to help us? I think it's about how you offering value to that business or that corporate by saying, look, let us help you establish a policy, a charitable policy with your business, and show how that policy can actually be driven from the bottom up, because it's not about senior management in a business saying, right, we're going to choose this to support, we're going to choose that support. It's about them engaging their staff and saying, what matters to your staff? What matters to them? How can we involve them in that journey? And how can we, create that engagement? And showing that, the bit I didn't really talk about there was showing that how charities can help businesses invest in social value, not just financial value, and how that social value has a value in its own right.
Is there any questions or any thoughts or anything else for the moment? What I would be kind of interested in, and feel free to unmute yourself and talk, is where you guys have had success with your corporate relationships. What do you think has made it work? What could have made it even better if you'd known it from the beginning? Yep. Are there Simon or Lucy? Simon, do you want to begin?
It doesn't answer your last point, but it was one around the fact that actually we've done a lot of work in the last year to try and build general relationships, but we're thinking, are we all the way back to start again? And this whole post-COVID scenario, that actually the interest we've generated, the connections that we've made, hopefully it's still going to be warm, but but we can't at the moment. We don't know what we're going to be like post-COVID, or maybe we are post-COVID and everything's up in the air. And I think that's a whole sort of winding it back to the start again type worry, that sort of we're sort of going to take a while to build back up to the point of any sort of relationship that can start to be beneficial for us.
And what have you been doing at the moment to try and start that rebuild again? And do you feel that that's the right? Well, of course you feel it's the right approach, but is it having the impact you wish?
So in terms of we've actually got we just managed to just appoint 3 people literally just before shutdown. So I established a new senior leadership team literally the week before. So they started and they're getting to know the organisation. And in terms of we're trying to work out, what are the networks that we want to get engaged with, that maybe we're members of the Chamber of Commerce but have never realised, never sort of got us stuck into that as we could have done. There's a Cambridge network, there's a Peterborough network, and so on. So it's working out where we might need to go to go and re-engage. The question is whether or not they're going to restart the moment we're out of lockdown. That's the starting point, and I think then also just assessing, because we've got a new person there, so in a sense challenging me a little bit. So, well, look, you've listed this organisation, you've got a connection with. What's the strength of that relationship? Do they know you? Do you know them? Mm-hmm. Is it more than that? What were the opportunities? Where were you looking to go? So, in terms of say, we've got a bit of a fresh start opportunity internally, in addition to the fresh start post-COVID.
Mm-hmm. Lucy, you were going to speak.
Our charity is dependent on mentoring from businesses. And I think that our relationships with existing businesses are some in jeopardy, where businesses are worried about their future. But any relationships with new businesses, people just don't feel like they can make decisions or commitments or move forward, where they have to get their core business, sort of see what's going to happen with their core business before they can move on at all. And it's that nice if, but they just need to get things going before they can sort of work with us, really.
Richard, what do you think about that?
I think the thing is, there are 4 phases that I'm aware of at the moment. There's the crisis phase, which arguably we're still in. There's the pre-recovery stage, recovery stage, and then a transformational stage, in which might be sort of like a year and a half in the future. The kind of information I've been looking at is that the crisis stage may last another 3 or 4 weeks as businesses. And while businesses are in crisis, you're absolutely right, they are distracted. They have priorities, and we know that social responsibility isn't necessarily first and foremost on their minds. Having said that, we also think it's part of their recovery. We think that if businesses start to build this into their recovery model now, then it will help. It will make them more resilient in the future. And if they can then engage their staff and retain staff and attract new, because there's no doubt we're going to be in a recession before, from now onwards, probably towards the end of the year. And I find, my personal opinion is that will be a reshuffling of the deck of cards, that lots of people will lose their jobs and lots of companies might go out of business. But then those people will find new jobs and new businesses will crop up, and we'll come into, I think, a fairly fairly quick recovery in spring next year. So what I kind of would like to say really is about creating momentum and keeping momentum going, because we can't stop. If you stop now, it's very, very hard to start again. And I think with those warm contacts and those there is an appetite, and people are at different stages of their journey. So I've spoken to businesses that are thriving at the moment, that actually have no problems, and I've spoken to businesses that are very uncertain about their futures and can't quite work out where their positioning is going to be in 3 or 4 months' time, or even next year. And when we talk about the awards industry, especially, it's people just don't know how they're going to deliver award schemes, in the next 12 months, especially if we have to socially distance. So I would urge charities to kind of say, look, we can be part of your recovery. Plan for that recovery. Use the time now to put that strategy together and show how you can help that recovery. So we've got some tools about impact reporting. I think if you can provide businesses the tools that can help them show the benefit of social responsibility of their business. So say, look, here's how you can impact report, here's how you can measure and benchmark, here's how we can show the impact that you're having on the wider community, and how you can share that information, that positive storytelling with your staff to get them more engaged, and how businesses can actually talk about that on their website and through their social media channels in terms of attracting customers and businesses. So I think the thing to do now is understand that people are at different stages of their journey. I think some businesses will say, you know what, we were supporting you, but we can't afford to do that now. And I don't think there's any problem with the charity saying, yeah, but can you afford not to support us now? Go back and say, actually, I think, there is value in continuing that relationship with us, and that we'll deliver you. It's not just a nice thing to do, it is an investment.
Yeah, I'd like to back up that, Richard. From where I'm sitting, I've been making sure I've been keeping in touch with my corporate relationships and actually saying to them, how's it going? What are you doing? How can I help you? And just be reassuring to them. And I send them a weekly email about what the hospice is up to, what the charity is up to, just staying in touch and just making them aware that we're there to support them and help them as well. And just to be that kind of a bit of a consistent message going across the last few months. And I've had a very positive response. People are very happy to hear from me, and if I've asked for things, then 99% of the time they'll say yes, no problem, what can I do to help? So don't be afraid to go out there and make those contacts. People are there, and certainly where you have an existing relationship, they're usually more than happy to help you at the moment.
Does anybody else have any good corporate relationships at the moment that they would like to let us know about and we can learn from?
I mean, I think it's important to mention that there are, I can't remember the figure off the top of my head, I've got it written down somewhere, but in terms of SMEs, there's tens of thousands of SMEs. I think it might even be something like 3 million SME businesses within the UK, possibly more, and that doesn't include the large corporates. And in terms of the third sector, there's plenty to go around. I mean, and I think engagement with membership groups is a really good place to start. But providing that kind of we've been forced as an accreditation body to do what we're doing now, is to embrace a new technology and to deliver a lot more online content in terms of kind of workshops and engagement and stuff like that. And actually, charities. If you can kind of phrase the terminology in the language and say, well, actually, depending on what sort of charity you are, but if you can help a business with team building, if you can help a business with, responsible leadership, if you can help businesses when it comes to their tendering, I think that there's a lot, you can offer, and there are a lot of businesses. So I think using those networking groups like BBF or the Chamber of Commerce or the smaller biscotti groups or whatever, or actually working with the Clare Foundation to engage with business. The Clare Foundation is, a phenomenal organisation in the sense that it is looking at both sides. It is looking at, engagement with businesses. It's also looking at how to support charities. And I think, if we can create a glue that pulls those things together, because I actually think that one of the things we've talked about a lot is that businesses are not apart from society. They're part of society. And businesses have employees who care about things. They may have somebody who's got MS, they may have somebody who's suffering from dementia, they may have somebody who's in the Scouts or the Cubs, whatever it might be. And you know, we can tap in to that and create that conversation, that dialogue, so that you create meaning. And as I say, there's a bigger appetite, especially, I mean, you know, this was coming along anyway, after the Blue Planet and after people were thinking about what sort of world they want to live in the future. And it to be a better world. I'm not saying that everyone's going to behave well. We have seen people, there has been behaviour that's not been great. I've heard of some things recently that have been quite horrible around litter and rubbish and things like this. People, you know, the beaches we've heard, you know, on the news being, you know, people, you know, will people go back to how things were? Now, I think there will be a bit of that, but I also think that people will want to invest in building a legacy for good and looking at what social value looks like, and look for that bigger sense of purpose in their lives, not just getting up and going to work every day and taking a wage and coming home. I think they want to create that engagement. And I think if charities can present that in a way that says it's not that you're not only supporting us through the, we consider there are 5 ways of giving, you know, and that's fundraising, financial giving, giving in kind, pro bono volunteering, and general volunteering. So if you can look at those 5 ways of giving and then identify how organisations may be to support you, because organisations may think, actually, we've got no money, we literally can't afford to do this. But, you know, we've known with the furloughed staff that there's an army for good out there sitting around doing nothing, who would love nothing better until October to support a charity doing something, even if it's just phoning people for you, or just delivering leaflets, or, you know, if it's a graphic designer who can't go to work, getting a poster designed, or an accountant doing some work for you, or a lawyer doing some work for you. So you might be able to go to businesses that you already have on your contact lists and say, look, what can we do to engage your furloughed staff? How can we get some value out of that? And what you'll be doing is you'll be helping you know, there's no doubt that volunteering is shown to improve mental health and well-being. And being asked to stay at home and do nothing is not easy to do. It's much easier to be asked to do something than to do nothing. So I think there are ways in which you can create engagement. It's just finding, you know, how the specific unique nature of your business and charity can match up with the requirements of the businesses in your community, and use the Clare Foundation to try and create that engagement.
Absolutely. Like the Clare Foundation at the moment, we're in the early processes of formalising, I guess, something that we've had for a long time, which is the Charity Help and Advisory Team. So basically an opportunity for senior people from business, or really skilled people from business, to give their time to a charity who's got a specific need. So it could be a charity that doesn't have a marketing team, but they have a marketing campaign and they'd like some advice and guidance. So somebody will offer their time for free to that charity for that one particular task. So that's at the moment something we're developing, and that's our way of engaging, one of the ways that we're going to be engaging with corporates, so that we can give out to the wider charitable community, with recognition that as we go into recovery, charities are going to need a lot of specific support that they may not be able to afford to employ, because it's only required for a short period of time, or frankly there isn't the finances for it at the moment. So that's something that we're developing with corporates at the moment. We'll let you know more about it once we know more. What about impact reporting? How important are you finding, when you're speaking to corporates, the idea of impact reporting? If you can go into your reactions, and if you click on reactions, which is probably in that little list of things, you know, chat, participants, etc., you'll have either a clap or a thumbs up. If you think that actually impact reporting is something that corporates are asking for more and more, just do a quick thumbs up so we can see how important people are finding that. You've got a couple of thumbs. Everybody found the little thumbs up thing? It's in the reactions, if you've got that. So there's a number, not as many as I expected, actually. I thought we'd see a sea of thumbs up. So I guess my question for you then is, when you're speaking to corporates, what are they looking for if they're not looking for impact reporting?
I mean, there's an older attitude. There's an older attitude that you know, that philanthropically businesses do this. They don't want to show off about it. They don't want to, you know, they're not doing it for any other reason than that they just want to do something good. But I think the thing is that that's denying an opportunity, because social impact reporting gives that positive storytelling that allows businesses to share what they're doing with their staff and their stakeholders at large. And that's showing leadership, and it's also, you know, promoting the charity that they're working with. So I think the thing is, I think social impact reporting, I think, is absolutely essential. And I think, and it doesn't have to be hard work. I mean, we support a couple of charities who benefit from the accreditation fees. And, you know, and it's not significant. It's not, you know, it's not a, you know, in the great scheme of things, it's something. But it's nice to have a letter that just says, thanks to that support, we were able to employ 3 palliative nurses last week. You know, it's every bit counts. And that isn't, for my mind, I can then go back and say, we're so happy to support that charity. And as a result, that they were able to do these things. You know, that kind of adds up. And some businesses can, you know, in fact, what we found, interestingly enough, with the accreditation scheme is that it's the smaller businesses that deliver more impact per head than the bigger corporates. So, you know, you may find that, and I think that's because the SMEs, the companies under 250 employees, generally have a more flexible and dynamic and are less stiff in their management. So they can allow more flexibility. And it may be that you can, you know, you can work with a business. We had a business in Berkhamsted who, you know, sat down with some local charities and worked out a bespoke plan on how they could work together and how they could make their, and this wasn't about financial giving directly, this was about making staff available each week to support that charity through a whole range of different things, from through kind of human resource provisions. So I think the thing is that, you know, there is a degree of bespokeness in the way that you can engage, but I think impact reporting is really important. And if you can have a strategy or structure or policy in-house, that means it's just easy to do. So every time a business supports you in a way, you immediately just go back and respond to it, even if it's just 10 lines in a letter. Then that's something that business can then use to show that they have delivered some impact, and that their investment in that time had a result, had an outcome to it.
I've got a comment here in the chat from Catherine. Her video and her microphone aren't working, apparently. She wants to know if you could give some advice about starting these more strategic conversations that we as a charity can offer. I work for a hospice, and often companies present their motivations as purely altruistic. Do you think that it's a case of speaking to the right people? Also, if you're also to share some examples about impact reports, that would be wonderful. How do you have conversations and impact reports to share?
Yeah, we have a toolkit for that as well, and we also have some examples and case studies. So I can share that with you, Karen, afterwards, and perhaps you can share that with me.
Absolutely, it'd be great. Thank you. So her question was really about how do you start the strategic conversations, more strategic conversations than the ones that go, oh, we're just doing it because we're being altruistic.
Well, again, it's not about box ticking. I think that's the important thing. And I think that, you know, you've got to, you know, the impact reporting allows you to demonstrate that you are delivering output. And I think you're right about who do you speak to within an organisation. Now, more and more organisations have roles for social responsibility managers or CSR managers or whatever it might be. But in terms of, you know, the SME audience, it's often the owner director of the business who will, or the marketing department. And I think if you can then, you know, frame that engagement. In fact, we have got some work we delivered somewhere around engagement at that level, in terms of the sort of things you can say to people. But I think the other thing is that it's you know, and then just plugging what we do a little bit, I suppose, is that, you know, by working with a charity, you're helping an organisation become CSR accredited, which is nationally recognised. And as we grow momentum, it already has a, you know, it's got that, it is endorsed by the Institute of Administrative Management and recognised by a national university. But it also is a badge of honour that businesses can wear to show that they are a responsible and caring organisation. So I think the thing is, it's how you phrase the introduction, so that, you know, it's kind of like estate agents sell houses, but actually that's not the way to sell a house. You've got to kind of look at that point of difference and approach it from that position. So it's you know, how we can especially if the businesses that you're engaging with are within the community that you operate in. I think that's really important as well, to find businesses that are local to you. And not necessarily the big national corporates. I mean, again, if the corporates want to give, then that's great. And we have seen, for example, with the John Lewis partnership, that they have a social responsibility manager for every store who actively look for businesses. And we've got organisations, you know, financial and legal organisations that make a point of looking at 4 or 5 charities to support, and they will go out and identify those charities on a yearly basis. So there are, you know, it's. I mean, I think a really good way to look at how to approach a business is to look at a business's website and see whether the business is already delivering social responsibility or sustainability. And more businesses are have a web page now that talk about their values, their mission, and their social responsibility. And I think if you've got that, then you've got a clear in. Because you can then say, look, we've been on your website, you know, we love the idea, and then you can kind of make that introduction.
I think it's also about looking for the really obvious examples of where you match up. If I put my previous hat on, I was enterprise coordinator for the Buck Skills Hub. So I worked in schools to support well, not just corporate, but employers to work with schools and support their careers curriculums. And the number of schools I'd go into and they'd say, just got a new contract and we're building a sports hall, or we're extending our classrooms. And I would turn around and say, in the bidding process, did you make it a requirement that the construction company and the architects did some CSR by doing some careers work? Oh no, we never thought about that. Okay, so then afterwards, now go to the architects and say, can you do some work with our children when you're already coming onto site? And they don't say yes. And it was such an obvious benefit to both parties. Construction industry dramatically short of employees. There was a whole school of young people who could be convinced to go into the construction industry with the right engagement. So it's looking for those obvious opportunities that you just didn't stop to think about, or they didn't stop to think about, I think, as well.
It is right. I mean, it is about aligning, businesses should be aligning their CSR programs around what they do effectively. So we've just done some work with a company in London that build care homes, and we've helped them write a policy around social isolation in the elderly. This is pre-COVID, incidentally, so whereas we had sympathy towards that, we have a complete empathy towards it now. But the thing is that as a result of this engagement with this organisation, they've written a policy that we helped them identify that out of the 5.4 million people in the UK who are over 75, 3 million of them live alone, and the detriment to their health is significant. Now they've remarketed themselves as architects of social engagement, and that they are going to create engagement not in the care homes but the communities that the care homes are working in. And they've given every member of their staff 1 hour a week to work with a local charity to sit with people who live alone. And they see that as being a powerful way to become a successful business and to kind of win tendering above and beyond, because obviously they work in the public and private sector, so they work with local authorities. So I think the thing is, if you're approaching businesses that are tendering and work with the local authorities, then you can help them deliver you know, the social responsibility they need to win those tenders. I mean, there are so many, you know, financially driven drivers that engaging with a charity will deliver for a business. It's just that businesses don't speak that language. So, you know, to pull back a little bit, I never go in normally talking about social responsibility. I follow that up. I always go in at the beginning point and say, look, how can we make you a better business? How can we make you a successful business? How can we make you, you know, manage your turnover and improve your profitability? And then I can talk about the importance of social responsibility with mental health and wellbeing, the importance of social responsibility with HR, the importance of social responsibility with hiring and retaining talent. You know, and you can look at all those different things. So in other words, if you go onto a kind of business coaching website and look at the way a business coach talks to businesses, you can say, well, actually, we can tick all those boxes as well. We can help you as a business achieve all of those things and actually make you a better business. And I do believe, and I might be wrong, but my suspicion is that, you know, we will come out of COVID better, and we will build back better. And we'll learn from these things. And I think that means there'll be, you know, a good example, and by all means, go and have a look at these people, but we're a member of the Silverstone Technology Cluster, which is 150 businesses around Silverstone. We did some work with them a month or two ago, and discovered that that within that cluster there are businesses actively looking to do this kind of work, but don't know how to do it. They don't know what the language is. They don't know how to frame it. So, and every organisation that we have accredited were already delivering their CSR before we got involved. They just didn't know how to structure it, and they didn't know how to communicate it. And that's the thing. So it's basically nudging people to do something they already want to do. And we've not found anybody who says, you know what, we don't want to be socially responsible. It doesn't exist. So I think the thing is, you can arm yourself with that language and use that to engage organisations. And CSRA, we're very happy to work with any of you at no cost at all. We're very happy just to be at the end of the phone for an hour or two and help you frame, whatever the uniqueness of your charity is, and help you frame that engagement, and work with the Clare Foundation to do that as well. Because I think it's so important to communicate the benefit, not only the benefit of what you're delivering as a charity, but the benefit that you can help to create that cohesion, that glue. I've talked to businesses about, and you've probably heard this kind of thing before, but if the third sector didn't exist, civil society would collapse within a fortnight. There was no hospices, there was no drug advice and support for young children, no care homes, and no air ambulance, and so on and so forth. Forget COVID. Society just wouldn't function. And it's an invisible. And what I think COVID's done is it's helped us recognise the value of the invisible, and brought communities together in a way that I don't want people to forget. So I want people to, and perhaps, creating that engagement with the third sector is helping businesses not go back to the way we were behaving before this all started. So is this an opportunity rather than a negative? Yes, in the short term, businesses perhaps have to rethink the way they operate, but in the long term, this is the future.
And I think that's probably a really nice point to stop on. So thank you very, very much, Richard, for your time. I really appreciate that. And I think there's lots of interesting points there for us to go in, all of us to have a think about, and especially your kind offer of giving some pro bono time for anyone who's got any queries or questions. That's amazing, and CSR in action. So I will email you out Richard's details. I did CC him into the email this morning that I sent you, so you've got that on your email already. But do reach out to him for anything at all. And of course, the Clare Foundation is also always here for you. If we can help you, we'll help you. If we can't help you, we'll tell you we can. So we'll hopefully signpost you to someone who can. Do look at some of our remaining events that we have coming up as well, and book onto any of those. They're all completely free. And you also would have received an email from me this morning asking for your thoughts about what the next potential sessions we could run after we finish this series. I hadn't really intended it to go beyond the beginning of July, but the feedback has been such that I think it's worth looking into extending it. So I'd really appreciate if you could just complete that survey. It'll take you a minute, 2 minutes, and then I can begin to plan what's going on in the future. But yeah, so thank you very, very much. And hopefully I should see you all next week or in the weeks to come. Thank you.
Thank you.